Welcome back to the cryptowrld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now there's only one day to go until Bitcoin plays out the next volatile move, as the price just liquidated $1 billion of long positions, while Ethereum is still playing out this pattern in the short term. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, taking a look at the 4-day Bitcoin chart, and as of right now, we're starting to see a very slight uptick in the Bollinger Band width indicator, which basically tells us that we're starting to potentially see the beginning of the next extreme volatile move in the price of Bitcoin on the larger timeframes. But with that being said, even though we're starting to see an ever so slight increase here in the Bollinger Band width indicator, obviously, at least for now, it is still sitting at very low levels. We haven't really seen any significant spike to the upside. And so at least for now, we're still really waiting for more of a signal to actually confirm on this 4-day time frame based on the Bollinger Band indicator, signaling the next major move on the larger timeframes. Because of course, over the last few months, we have been basically in a massive sideways consolidation range over the last few months. And so not a lot has really changed here on the 4-day time frame just recently, and the same can be said about this 3-day Bitcoin charts, because at least for now, the 3-day Bitcoin RSI is still sitting below 50 in the bottom half of the RSI indicator, and historically speaking, this has signaled some pretty decent buying opportunities in the past if you're simply accumulating Bitcoin for the longer term as more of a longer term signal. And so it's important to understand that this signal does not mean that the price is going to see a massive bullish move next week or tomorrow. It's not a short-term signal. This is historically looking at longer-term movements in the price of Bitcoin, moves that can take months to play out. And if we're taking a look at this daily Bitcoin chart, at least for now, the DXY, also known as the US dollar index, this is still technically trending in the bullish direction, despite the ever so slight pullback that we saw just recently in the DXY, because at least for now, the DXY is still forming higher lows and higher highs, which technically is a bullish trend. And as I've been saying time and time again here on the channel, when the DXY is trending in the bullish direction, expect a bearish trend for Bitcoin as the most likely scenario. And so obviously, if you've been watching these videos over the last few weeks, you'll know that I've been saying basically that exact same bearish warning over the last 3 weeks or so since much higher prices. And so at least for now, we don't really have any major confirmation signals confirming a bullish trend reversal here in the short term. So at least for now, technically speaking, the shorter term trend and momentum for the price of Bitcoin is still bearish, as I've been saying basically every day over the last 3 weeks or so. But with that being said, of course, during that short-term bearish trend, we can see some shorter-term time periods where we have sideways consolidations, so choppy sideways price action, or even some very slight bounces here and there. Of course, the price does not move in a straight line. And so, like I've already been saying over the last 4 days, since right back here, since after we saw that dump just here, I've been saying that it's very likely that for the remainder of this week, we're most likely going to see just some choppy sideways price action here, or potentially a slight bullish relief, basically just a bit of a break or a pause from the short-term bearish trend, but not necessarily the end of the bearish trend. So, for example, we could play out a bit of a pause from the trend, and then potentially the continuation of the bearish trend later on at some point, potentially next week or the week after, for example. And this pause from the bearish trend here in the shorter term is simply to help to reset the RSI back out of oversold territories and back up towards more neutral levels, because once the RSI resets back up towards more neutral levels, technically speaking, that does actually give us more room to the downside later on. And so that's why we need to see other confirmation signals to confirm a bullish trend reversal for Bitcoin here in the short term, like, for example, a confirmed breakout above strong resistance, or, for example, a confirmed bearish reversal signal here in the DXY by forming lower lows or lower highs, for example. That would be a bearish reversal signal for the DXY, which would be a bullish reversal signal for Bitcoin, which, once again, at least for now, we have not seen. And if we're taking a look at these support and resistance areas here on this daily Bitcoin chart, we still have a lot of support in this region, which we have been bouncing perfectly from over the last half a week to nearly 1 week now. And this support is sitting in between around $60,000 to $61K. And we also have a massive area of support in between around $56,500 to $58,000. And as for resistance, we do have this area to pay attention to in between around 63 to 64,000. We have a significant area of resistance in between around 67 to 68,000 and more resistance in between 72 to 74,000. And so over the last one day, not a lot has really changed on this chart. And if we're zooming further into the short term, looking at the 4-hour time frame, of course, right now we have now entered into the weekend, which is shown by these areas on the chart right here. And as we can clearly see, there is one thing in common between all of these previous weekends on the chart. And that thing in common is the fact that we see very low volatility, usually during the weekend, usually very flat price action, nothing major. And so simply based on what we've seen time and time again over these previous weekends, I do expect as the most likely scenario, just for the rest of this weekend, we're most likely going to see some very flat price action, so very low volatility just for the weekend. And so basically that's pretty much one more day worth of relatively flat price action. That is what I'm expecting here in the short term. But then potentially as the new week begins, starting Monday or Tuesday, we could see a lot more volatility. Potentially the next short-term volatile move could begin as soon as around a day or two from now. Because once again, if we're simply looking at this previous price action here, we can see that basically as soon as the new week begins, as soon as we leave the weekend, we see a lot more volatility already beginning in the price of Bitcoin as soon as we enter into the new week. And keep in mind, at least for now, we have not yet confirmed any bullish trend reversal. So technically speaking, even though we've seen a bit of a break from the bearish trend, we are still technically within a bearish trend in terms of the short-term trend and momentum for the price of Bitcoin. And so keeping that in mind, I would not be surprised if at some point next week, sometime after we complete the weekend, sometime next week, we could potentially see the continuation of that short-term bearish trend with potentially more volatility sometime next week on the weekdays. And of course, this is pretty much exactly what I've been talking about for the last 1 week or so. Since all the way back here, I've been saying how it's very likely for this week, we're going to see a lot of choppy sideways price action. So a break from the bearish trend just for this week. And so far, we've seen exactly that play out as expected. But once again, just because we're seeing a bit of a pause or break from the bearish trend, that is not necessarily a bullish trend reversal signal confirmed. And if you want to trade any of these moves in the price of Bitcoin or any other crypto, personally, I take those trades over on Bybit. So I'll make sure to leave a link to Bybit down below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link down below this video to make a Bybit account and deposit on that account, then you can get up to a $30,000 deposit bonus, but only if you use that link down below this video. And also, if you use that link, it'll take you to this page right here, which is currently a massive lucky draw happening right now over on Bybit. And this is only happening for the next 1 day or so. And so simply just by trading crypto on Bybit using the link down below this video, you get these chances for this lucky draw right here. And basically, you could potentially win some free Bitcoin or Ethereum or USDT or a trip to an F1 race or up to $100,000 just by trading crypto using the link down below this video. And so if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check this out. Once again, first link down below this video. But for whatever reason, if you cannot access Bybit or if you cannot KYC on Bybit, there is also Bitflex, which is another crypto exchange similar to Bybit, but you don't need KYC for Bitflex. And so I'll also make sure to leave a link to Bitflex down below this video as an alternative crypto exchange. And if we're taking a quick look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, just over the last 1 day, we actually wiped out a lot of long positions because we did actually have a major level of liquidity sitting right above $60,000, more specifically around 60.3K to 60.4K. And right there, we had close to $1 billion of long positions that got wiped out right around that level based on this Bitcoin liquidation heat map. And of course, I mentioned in my last video that we do have a lot of liquidity at around 60.3 to 60.4K. So keep in mind that the price usually likes to take out a lot of liquidity before heading in the next direction. And so now that we've taken out that major level of liquidity, we still have a little bit more liquidity at around $60,000 and just underneath 60,000. But with that being said, the majority of the liquidity just in the short term here is sitting now above the price at around 62,500 to 62.6K. And as of right now, we have close to $1 billion of liquidity right at that level. But with that being said, taking a look at Ethereum on the daily time frame, and right now the price of ETH is still holding above this 50% retracement level, acting as support, sitting at around 33.50 after we've just seen a bit of a short-term rejection from this previous Fibonacci level of support, now acting as new resistance, which is sitting at around 34.80 approximately. And once again, as I've been saying over the last half a week to nearly 1 week now, we are playing out a bit of a short-term pause or break from the bearish trend, but we have not necessarily confirmed any bullish trend reversal. So at least for now, we're still technically within a short-term bearish trend. It's just we're taking a bit of a pause from the trend in the imminent short term here. And if we're taking a look at the 12-hour time frame, one of the reasons why we've seen a bit of a pause from that short-term bearish trend just over the last few days or so is due to the fact that we have this bullish divergence still playing out on this 12-hour time frame. Because at least for now, we have not invalidated these lower lows in the price and the higher lows in the RSI. So technically, this is still active, and usually a bullish divergence plays out in the form of either a slight bullish relief or some choppy sideways price action as the most likely scenario just for the next few days here. And we saw something very similar back here because we did also have a bullish divergence between these lows in the price and these lows in the 12-hour Ethereum RSI. And if we're looking at what we saw over the next few days, we did see an initial bullish relief in the short term, followed by some choppy sideways price action over the next couple of days. And then eventually we did actually continue the short-term bearish trend later on after we saw a pause in the short term from that bearish trend. And so once again, we're seeing very similar price action to what we saw just back here, close to around 1 week ago. And also what we saw back here around 1 to 2 weeks ago was multiple rejections in the price from this golden pocket area of resistance in between around 3.6k to 36.50. So obviously that was one of the reasons why the price struggled to go any higher, because we had a major resistance at that area on the chart. And this time around, instead of the price struggling around 3.6k to 36.50, which is still major resistance, as of right now, the price has not even made it up towards that level. So we're actually struggling around this level of resistance in the short term, sitting at around 34.50. And once again, we have resistance right here at around 34.80. And so those are the short-term levels of resistance to pay attention to right now, which the price is still struggling at just in the short term here. And as for support on this chart, we still have a lot of support at roughly around 3.3k. And also, if we're taking a look at this 8-hour time frame, obviously around half a week ago, coming close to a week now, we did see the 8-hour Ethereum RSI enter into oversold territories for the first time in just a few weeks. And if we're looking at the last few times where the 8-hour Ethereum RSI entered into oversold territories over the next few days or so, perhaps over the next week or so, we did see a bit of a pause from the bearish trends here in the short term in the form of either a slight bullish relief or bounce to the upside, or perhaps a sideways consolidation with some choppy sideways price action. But this signal by itself does not necessarily mean the bearish trend is completely over. And so once again, this is the same thing that I've been saying over the last half a week, give or take. And so far, it's continuing to play out pretty much exactly as expected. We're seeing a slight bullish relief and some choppy sideways price action. So a break from the bearish trend, but not necessarily the end of the bearish trend, at least for now. And with that being said, taking a quick look at the price of Solana on the 12-hour time frame, and what we've just seen over the last 1 to 2 days is that initial breakout to the upside above this area of resistance, which is sitting in between around 140 to 144, and then we saw a retest of this area, and so far we've seen candle closes pretty much exactly on 140. And so at least for now, we don't really have any strong confirmation of a confirmed break back below 140. So at least for now, it is still possible that we could hold this area as support, but we really need to see a bounce from this area in the coming days, especially going into the new week, because otherwise, if we do not see some sort of decent bounce from this area right here, and instead we just start drifting back below $140, then in that case, that would mean this breakout would be a fake out. Basically, it's failed the breakout to the upside. And in that case, if we see candle closes start confirming well below 140, then we could likely retrace back down towards this massive area of support in between 120 to 128. But on the other hand, if we do see some more bullish confirmation here by seeing some actual green candles confirming here over the next few days, confirming a bounce from this area, then in that case, we could likely head up towards the next major level of resistance, which is sitting at around $160. But as I've also mentioned recently here on the channel, channel over the last couple of days, we do have a bit of short-term resistance at around 151, which we just actually saw a short-term rejection from. And I talked more about a potential trading strategy in my last video here on the channel when it comes to trading the price of Solana. And no matter what signal confirms here, whether we start flipping more bullish with a bounce or if we confirm the break below 140 with more candle closes below 140, either way, we can make money in either direction with a long position or a short position. And once again, I talked more about that in my last video here on the channel. And if you want to trade any of these moves in the price of any crypto, check out those links down below this video to claim those extra bonuses. And if you want to actually know how to trade crypto, no matter if the price is bullish, bearish, or chopping around sideways, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions. And the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.